Kia ora guys, welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name is Max, I'm the host over here at this channel, and a big thank you to my patrons who were able to get early access to the graphics in this video thanks to their membership. Make sure to subscribe as well if you enjoy my content. We're going to make this video about who I would select for the All Blacks if I suddenly had to come in as head coach and everything like that, because quite frankly who we want to pick in the team doesn't really matter. The selectors have their own methods of doing everything, and so to avoid putting my opinions into my next video about who I think Fozzie is going to pick, I've decided to make a separate video, as I normally do, about who I would pick for the All Blacks, as of course our own opinions need to be taken with a grain of salt. The selectors don't listen to us. We'll start off of course with the hookers, as I normally do for these types of videos, and because Cody Taylor has played the most minutes of any hooker in the Foster era, it's pretty obvious to say he's going to start in the number 2 jersey for me, but because he has had a few issues with the liner as of late, well, benching Samisoni Taukei'aho just makes sense to me. Taukei'aho can come on at half time and just deliver with the goods. Because he is the best hooker as well, it just makes sense to have him on for the last 20 minutes, which decide the result of every single game. The third choice though for me has to be Asafo Aumua. He's gone from strength to strength over and over and over again, whereas Dane Coles is always injured, just cannot string minutes together for the life of him. And so with just this wrecking ball of Aumua and as the fourth choice All Blacks number 2, well, I'm just going to elevate him to the number 3 for the number 2 picks. Now over to prop. Because the props and the hookers are the most important players on the pitch, I'm just going straight for form with the props because there's been so many injuries. Ethan de Groot and Tyrell Lomax, it goes without saying. De Groot is just 24 years old. It's frightening to think how good he's going to get. Whereas with Lomax, this guy has developed into a far better player than I ever thought he was going to. He's 27 years old. He is at the peak of his powers right now, so perfect timing for a World Cup for Tyrell Lomax. We now move over to tell you guys what I think about Offa-Tu'ungafasi. Well, Joe Moody, today they released a injury update on him, saying he's going to be out for 8 weeks. Because Moody's had so many injury troubles in the past, I'm just going to move Tu'ungafasi over to loose head prop. Tu'ungafasi is well known for being a strong impact player, able to play on both sides of the scrum, and because it's a 33-man squad, well, I can select 2 props in a very similar mould. So Tamaiti Williams, the form prop of Super Rugby, pairing him with Tu'ungafasi, who's a similar height, it just makes absolute sense. Tamaiti Williams is the biggest prop in the history of New Zealand rugby, but he's also mobile, as he used to play for as a loose forward there rather. He's been absolutely amazing this season and he cannot be ignored. Over to the third choice props. Nepo Laulala has looked absolutely off the pace, so instead of him, I'm going to go for Aiden Ross. Ross has played 1 test before, and he's one of the 2 powerhouse props in the Chiefs, the other one being Ollie Norris. But as their tight head prop John Ryan is Irish, well, I have to go for Jermaine Ainsley of the Highlanders. Ainsley's a decent height to be paired with Ross on the scrum, and those 3 test caps were for the Wallabies. He's now regained his eligibility for the All Blacks after we changed the World Rugby eligibility laws. There's been heaps of injuries. You just want a guy in form, and this is the guy who's going to deliver the goods at the scrum, and with a very high tackle rate, it just makes sense to pick the guy. Now over to the locks. Sam Whitelock is captain. It's a no-brainer for me. Aside from his Achilles injury this year, he's basically never injured. He's always reliable. And you know what? If he's getting injured now, that's good. Saves his energy for the World Cup. The other lock I'm going to start Tupave. When Whitelock was a winner of the 2011 World Cup, he got paired with Brad Thorne, who was the oldest lock in the team. You want to have a combination of the old and new, just to get the balance of the locking combo. Whitelock's a bit more of a power player these days, as he's become a bit of an older player at 34 years old, so having Va'i's athleticism to me makes sense, plus with the experience of Brodie Retallick that you're able to bring off the bench, well, that just makes sense to me as well. Brodie Retallick's kind of like the Ali Williams. He's able to do a bit of both for the All Blacks these days, and with 100 tests to his name, well, that's an amazing amount of experience that you can bring off the bench. To the loose forwards, I'm not going to pick a specialist 6 because the need for a third lock at 6 these days is just too great. You need an extra line-out operator, and so Scott Barrett, in we come. Scott Barrett has played a total of 1,287 minutes in the Foster era, so though Akira Ioane is the guy with the most minutes on the 6 depth chart, Scott Barrett's actually played more minutes overall, whereas for the big tests last year, like against Ireland and England, he was the first choice at 6 rather than Ioane. Ioane. So I think the data we're working with over the 6 depth chart, it's quite heavily distorted. And for Barrett's backup, well, I want to go for Sami Penny-Finau because Shannon Frizzell, to me, has played his way out due to form. Finau's a pretty good age for a test debut at 24 years old, and he's very similar in height to Barrett as well, just 3 centimeters shorter, 6'5". The guy's also 115 kgs. He's bulked up from 109 from last year, and he's been playing out of his skin for the Chiefs. Though he's uncapped, props, loose forwards, aside from the number 8, they don't really have to make any serious structural decisions about a team, so I can kind of take the liberty with form for the props and for the number 6. And if there's a guy in form right now, well, it's Sami Penny-Finau. To the open side flanker, I will still start Dalton Papali'i though to get a bit of an extra carrier, as we're going to have so much just power at the breakdown. We just need to get the go forward for those guys to actually have the room to clean out with. Papali'i hasn't his best season overall, but with the experienced guy Sam Cane that you can bring off the bench, it's alright. I've always rated Cane as more of an impact player, and he's played 45% of the minutes in the Foster era, so it's all good. Look, you just want that leadership in the last few minutes, and how it's been going is they've often been subbing Sam Cane off, so instead of subbing him off, I want to sub him on, have the leadership with a few minutes to go. Billy Harmon though, sounds a bit silly to select a third open side, but I'll get on to why I'm doing that a little bit later. Anyway, you cannot have a World Cup without this guy. He leads Super Rugby with 16 turnovers for that stat so far, and pretty much no one in New Zealand is even close to him. He's been an absolute talisman as the captain of the Highlanders, and it's been a real shame that his teammates, aside from the Highlanders I'm picking for this team, haven't really given him anything to work off because, wow, Billy Harmon is an absolute freak. How he's yet to be capped is a mystery to me, but I'm correcting everything. I'm doing it now. In the event I actually do somehow, which probably won't happen, become the All Blacks coach. Ardie Savia is vice captain at number 8. I don't have to say too much more, do I? The guy's world class. The whole world knows who this guy is if they're into rugby. He is amazing. Put a full stop in that sentence, because Hoskins Sotushu is one of the few Blues players this year to enhance his reputation for me. The guy's very useful as a distributor, as a kicker, and as a carrier. Well, you've got to go for this guy because he's really the only backup option at number 8 for Savia. As you guys have gathered so far, I haven't really made any changes to the spine of the team so far, and I'm continuing that with halfback with Aaron Smith in his first choice halfback. He's played half the minutes this World Cup cycle, 114 tests, most capped ever All Black back. He has to be in. Brad Weber though, due to the club level cohesion he's got with other guys at the Chiefs, I think does need to overtake Finlay Christie and become the second choice halfback. I'll speak more on the matter later, as I said before, but he's been playing really well right now, and so why not have him on the bench just to spark everything up, energize you off the bench. Finlay Christie though, making huge changes to the spine this close to a World Cup is not a good idea, so Cam Roigard and Folau Fakatava will have to wait till 2024 to get a proper chance, in my opinion. Finlay Christie's done alright this year as well, so why not? Richie Mo'unga is going to be the only specialist first 5 in this team because of the fact that Damian McKenzie can come off the bench and light the World Cup up. We'll switch the graphic over to McKenzie to show that actually he is a very experienced player. He just needed a little bit more time in the saddle to prove he actually can be a 10 at a world class level. This season he's proven that, and with Beauden Barrett just not really performing well at all, well, stuff has to happen. While Barrett has commanded the second to most minutes at both 10 and 15, McKenzie is in form, and with Weber able to overtake Christie on the 9 depth chart, it's alright. If you're replacing the first, second, third choice, so on, if you're messing with that, you have to replace that with club level cohesion from Super Rugby, and McKenzie and over Barrett, it's alright. I've labelled them both as utility backs because I want Barrett to be able to cover 10 and 15 at the pool stages, just allow Mo'unga and McKenzie and his brother to get a decent rest during this time, as well as get the centres to have a bit of rest. The other utility back I'm naming is Leicester Faianga-Anuku. I haven't really been impressed with any of the midfielders at all this season who are uncapped, aside from Levi Aumua, who probably doesn't have enough teamwork available with these other guys to quite get in. So Faianga-Anuku, I'm going to use him to cover both the wing and 13 at the pool stages, just get the big boys a bit of rest. I don't think we need to worry about the depth chart there rather for the wingers either, because look, wing is just a position where you can slot a guy straight in based on form, and so naturally David Havili, based on all those factors I've mentioned before, he is the only choice at number 12 for the All Blacks. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck is heading back to league. Jack Goodhue's been off the pace. Quinn Tupaia is injured. ALB prefers to play 13, so Havili is the only guy that can really do it. Jordie Barrett, if Havili does get injured, though, can move there, so luckily for that, ALB can move there. But first off, we've got to talk about Rieko Ioane. Rieko Ioane is saving his energy for the World Cup, and that is some mouth-watering stuff right there, because my goodness, he is going to be an absolute star for this World Cup. Nearly 60 tests at 25 years old, just insanity. Sorry I got the graphic wrong as well, guys, I'm a bit half asleep when I made the graphics. Anyway, ALB covering 12 and 13 off the bench, makes sense. Played extensive minutes with both Havili and Ioane in the midfield, so of course. But as Whainga Anuku's covering 11 and 13, I'm only selecting 3 specialist midfielders. That also gave me the room to select Billy Harmon over at flanker. Anyway, to the outside backs, Mark Talia at 11, that is a must. He has the power, he has the ability under the high ball, he's got the try scoring rate, he's first in defenders beaten for Super Rugby this year. He is an absolute star. It took him far too long to make his test debut. Let's make up for that and start him on the left wing with Will Jordan on the right wing. It's pretty standard for the All Blacks to have a second fullback in the number 14 jersey. As I don't trust Jordan as a defender, but as I love the way he attacks, well, of course he has to be in that starting 15. We need to get him a contract extension to 2027 right now, because once that defence has improved, he's easily going to be the fullback for 2024. And Moni Narawa, this is the bolter for the team. Amoni Narawa is about to turn 24, perfect age for a test debut, similar circumstances to his Chiefs teammate Sami Penifei, and wow, what a star in the making this guy is. Unlike Sean Stevenson, his Chiefs teammate there rather, Narawa is an excellent defender while he also can move back to fullback. He's done so many a time for Bay of Plenty, so Narawa is a power winger in the mould of Talia, and he's also able to cover fullback just like Jordan, which gives you the liberty of moving Jordie Barrett around if there are injuries. Like, I would not complain whatsoever if Narawa or Jordan were to take the 15 jersey against like Uruguay or something like that at the pool stage and let Jordie Barrett just go to 12 to rest Havili, ALB to 13, something like that. With these guys all able to play anywhere on the park, you've got the clear-cut structure for the playoff games, and you've got the versatility to move guys around to manage workloads at the pool stage. It's all perfect. Jordie Barrett, though, when it comes to those knockout stages, he is the only choice at fullback. He's an excellent safety net on defence, has a massive boot to clear the high balls away. He's excellent with diffusing those bomb kicks. And of course, I've made an entire video as to why he's not a centre and why he needs to be a fullback, so you guys can check that one out after you finish watching this video. Thank you very much for watching it. As I said earlier in the video, a real big thanks to my patrons, and make sure to support me over on Instagram, over on Twitter, and my opinion journalism website elsewhere. Really appreciate you guys watching this video. Stay tuned for a few days time where I'm going to predict the actual team that Ian Foster will likely pick himself alongside Joe Schmidt and Jason Ryan as his selectors. Really appreciate the viewing. One more time, guys. Thanks so much from Max.